to confirm we were in the right place. So our agenda today is real simple. We're going to overview the laws and Constitution of New Mexico. We're going to examine valid oaths. You know what they look like. We're going to expose the invalid fraudulent oaths that I just mentioned to you. We're going to talk about the penalties and the arrest and the prosecution of these individuals. And first, the laws. This is in the Constitution. You'll see at the top here. Article XX, miscellaneous, section 1, oath of officer. In yellow, before entering upon his duties, take and subscribe to an oath or affirmation that he will support the Constitution of the United States and the constitutional laws of this state. Okay? So they have to have an oath. That is a written oath. When you see the president or anyone swear on a Bible or whatever they do, that's not their oath. That's like the what do you call it? The representation of that oath. Their real oath is written. And but it's worthy of note that in the Constitution, Article 5, Section 7, what happens if the governor's not the governor? Lieutenant governor takes over. What happens if the lieutenant governor's not the lieutenant governor? The Secretary of State takes over. What happens if the Secretary of State is not, and these are all, if they become incapacitated or whatever, then the President pro tem of the Senate takes over, and finally, the Speaker of the House takes over. So we got governor, lieutenant governor, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I haven't pulled the oaths of office for the President pro tempore of the Senate or Speaker of the House. I need to do that unless someone wants to volunteer to do that. So then we have the confirmation of cabinet secretaries. This can become relevant, so that's why I included it. The yellow part, the heads of all cabinet level departments or agencies has to be confirmed by the Senate, subject to confirmation. Here's the kicker, or reconfirmation by the Senate at the beginning of each term of a governor. Remember that. Okay, we're going to come back to that. So, and then we have the Attorney General of New Mexico in 2009 clarified for everyone, state judges have the authority to administer an oath of office to an elected official. And then we have this little thing right here. Laws of this is a law, not the Constitution. And Secretary of State, and it lists all these people, can issue an oath of office. Well, the context of this is if I go down to the county clerk's office, I need to file something, there needs to be some kind of oath sworn, that, yep, this is me and this is what I'm filing. They have the power to administer that oath. Okay? But if we back up to here, the clarification by the Attorney General, and there's a whole list of laws that back this up, the state judges have to sign elected officials' oaths. So now we get into what happens if you don't have the oath. What happens if you commit fraud like the judge in my case and the governor have? The case I'm dealing with is over $20,000, so they're guilty of a second-degree felony. I'm not going to go into specifics on that case right now, but just know that my case is about a $50,000 case, and so she's actually violated this twice by putting her name at the top of these documents they sent me to threaten to sell everything I own. And there's also, thanks to Ray Seidel, he looked it up for me, impersonating a police officer, or peace officer. Sorry, not police, peace. And I thought this was interesting, Ray, because we talked about the fact that the sheriffs in this state are actually peace officers. This is the old language that they need to use when they go arrest the governor. Anyway, so basically, So right here, you can impersonate a government official. That's what we have going on, and you'll see that. But yeah, there is a law nationally and in the state that you can't impersonate someone. And this part right here, public officials of other states and the federal government, even they can't do that. So, and there's a copy of this presentation that Grover has that he's going to post somewhere so you can download it. So what does the oath mean? And I found this online. It's very relevant. When you swear an oath in court, tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. it's considered sacred, and those taking an oath have a public trust to carry out their duties faithful and honestly. If you should break that oath as a public servant, you have violated multiple laws, which include not only some element of the supreme constitutional law, but breaking the oath is violation of separate laws, which I just went over. So, and our Constitution in New Mexico is worthy of note. It says if you took an oath to support, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, our Constitution does not say that. It simply says support. Well, I think they set themselves up for this in a way. And then you go and repeatedly ignore and violate the supreme law. That's the Constitution of New Mexico and the U.S. Then you've violated the law. You've negated your authority to hold that office or position, and anyone who's not taken the oath or record has no authority to hold any position within our government. Okay, if you have a computer and you're watching this, you'll have the presentation, but this is the critical part. So now let's look at valid oaths of office. This is the judge in my common law case that has effectively removed himself from it repeatedly by violating the laws of New Mexico, the Constitution, and his own oath. But the oaths here have to have certain elements. Element number one, where is it taking place? We see here state of New Mexico, county of Doñana. And who's being sworn in? Casey B. Fitch. And for what job? He's Office of District Court Judge, 3rd Judicial District, Division 5. Very specific. Okay, and he says, so help me God. And then we have a state judge, per what we just read, signing it. He was the Chief Justice at the time, so I've come to learn. And he has to record it. Up at the top here, there's the stamps. It was filed 12/28/2022 at 11 a.m. in 17 seconds. All 5 of the elements have to be in place for it to be a valid oath. So here's, and I checked all of the Supreme Court of New Mexico. They all had valid oaths. Doesn't mean they followed it. Right, led? We know that. Who's being sworn in and what title? He's the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of New Mexico. All of that is relevant. We have a state judge, and he's current, not retired, and he recorded it. Okay, see the pattern? So that's the standard. So now we have the invalid oaths of office. And here we have the Attorney General. And I chuckled when I tried to look him up. It's the Department of Justice of New Mexico. I'm like, give me a break. But Raul Torres, okay, so we got his name, and we got the position, New Mexico Attorney General, okay? He signed it, and then we have a state judge, and then, we got a problem. Court of Appeals Judge, R.E.T., he's retired. He's not a state judge anymore. So, and he didn't record it. You know, when I asked the Secretary of State for his oath, they didn't have it. So this is not official in any way, shape, or form. He's operating since 2023 without an oath. I asked them to provide from 2016 to 2023. They're really slow. I'll eventually have it. More than likely, he's got the same problems. So all actions are fraud. Currently waiting, and I told you what I just said. So that's number one. Number two, first term of Michelle Lujan Grisham. And you'll notice she put her name, Michelle Lujan Grisham. She had a state judge sign it, but he was like a rent-a judge. He's like a one-day commission. He's not a judge. And here's the big one. Notice it says governor. Governor of what? We don't know. Governor of a university. We had a president at a school I taught at. It was a boarding school, but it was the president of that school. So governor of what? So this is during COVID, okay? This is 2019 to 2020, the end of 2022, she wasn't governor. And here's the kicker. And this wasn't recorded, but all of her actions are fraud. Everything she did under COVID, all the businesses she shut down, all the churches she shut down, everything is fraud. And using the tools that Ray and I have done under common law, business owners and others can sue the governor under common law in common law court to attempt to recover all of everything you lost. So the second term. How do we know the first term is not valid? Because we have a state judge again. He's actually retired. And she put down governor of the state of New Mexico. So she figured out that her first one was fraud. Unfortunately, she didn't get a valid judge to sign this one. So both of her terms, including right now, she's serving unlawfully as the governor. She's a fraud. And she did record this one, I think. So are you seeing the trend? I hope so. This is the most egregious. I think you'll agree with me once I point this out. So he actually wrote in the Howey Morales, he put Lieutenant Governor Howey Morales. And then under the place we're supposed to put Lieutenant Governor of New Mexico, before we get there, state judge, nope, she's an executive assistant. Okay. Her name is Sandra Mares. She is a notary, but she's just the lady in the office, not a judge. And under where it's supposed to put Lieutenant Governor of New Mexico, he put New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. That's the position he was making an oath to. You tell me. I don't know. So, and it was recorded. That's the writing that's covering up that first paragraph on the right side. So he recorded this. And so I don't know what actions he does other than he's the second guy in charge. But he cannot be the governor if the governor is removed. Now we have the Secretary of State. I need to give special commendation for this lady. If Maggie ever hears this presentation, she is partly to blame for all of this mess. Because she posted this oath in its entirety without any signatures or names, so anyone in the state could download it and use it. But the oath, as you're realizing, is fraud. It's problematic. So we have Maggie here, sworn in then. Notice the date, 2016. Didn't we read under the Constitution that every subsequent election she has to renew the appointment and the oath? Has she done that? No. So state judge, no, she had a notary sign this. And I think it was an executive assistant. But Secretary of State, again, of what? Doesn't say New Mexico. We don't know what she was signing up for. So the end result, she did record it, but read the letters here. All election certifications from 2016 that she did are null and void for every election in New Mexico from the time she took over. Just let that sink in a second. Every election are now void. It's beyond ability to just really grasp what that means for New Mexico. And then we have the secretary whose name is on top of the document where they tried to steal everything I own. And she put her name there. She didn't have a state judge. She actually had the clerk who filed this be the witness. That's a problem. And, but again, Secretary of Taxation and Revenue of what? Could be a company, could be McDonald's for all we know. We don't know that it's New Mexico. So, and she did record it. So this affects all tax actions, including mine, spending approvals, voided, fraudulent, but also notice the date, 2019. She didn't renew it in 2023. So she had a bad oath. She doesn't have a current oath. So we have the governor, the secretary of state, and the taxation secretary all serving without any oath whatsoever. Are you starting to see the gravity of the situation in New Mexico? I showed this to the deputy his name is Deputy Day, deputy sheriff, who oversees all the sheriff's deputies at the courthouse in Las Cruces. I walked him through this, and he said, Jeff, this is huge. He said, you're going to have a problem. Nobody in this county will give you a fair shake. This is huge. You need to get a hold of the FBI. You need to go hold of the U.S. attorney. This is monumental. So here's a summary. Governor, both terms, fraudulent. Secretary of State, we just went through it. Secretary of Taxation, Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, and also, and this is where I want to challenge everyone listening, whether today or in the future, that all you do is find the IPRA in your county and city, or your representative in Santa Fe, and say, I would like the written oaths of office for these offices. You didn't even have to put their names. You can just put the office. And I did this in Doñana County, partly because I want to see if the sheriff had a valid oath. She does. But the probate judge does not. The probate judge, I've done all these filings for this case. All these people come in to get married. All those marriages are void. And all probate actions are void and fraud. But the context of this is there's a sheriff in New Mexico, Sheriff Wood, Lincoln County, who had his, hey Ray, can you pipe in? I want to be accurate here. Was it his father or father-in-law?
I believe it was his father.
Okay, so dad was a retired judge, threw on the robe, said, I'll swear all you guys in. Well, somebody found out. They took it to court. Judge said, a retired judge is not a valid witness. So they threw out everything that sheriff and his deputies had done. Every arrest, every ticket, people were yanked out of jail, every. And that happened in New Mexico in the last couple of years. So, and I'm going to reiterate, this is what I'm going to give the sheriffs August 11th. Each fraudulent individual should be removed from office immediately as they cannot correct their oath. They had 30 days. That's not even in New Mexico law. That's national, okay, to file. And according to the Constitution, they have to have it on file before their first day in office. They cannot serve without a valid oath. And it says law enforcement may be required to force these fraudulent actors from their offices and secure all their business, whatever. So if the sheriffs decide to show up in Santa Fe and remove the imposters, we're going to ask, but as Ray and I were talking before this meeting kicked off, we as the people, as the people who allow the government to serve us, we can serve as our own prosecutors. So I myself and Ray and anyone else who wants to join in can help in this in prosecuting these individuals through common law court. I'll reiterate this. The people of New Mexico who lost businesses can now sue the governor and to attempt to collect all their losses. My goal is to bankrupt the governor of New Mexico. And if she's listening to this, Governor, you're a marked woman, as you already know. So here's where we need prayer. We need all 30 sheriffs to vote to take action. The executive board of the Sheriff's Association saw the evidence and decided this was worthy of presenting to all the sheriffs. They said, this is so monumental, we cannot decide this. The sheriffs have to decide. That's going to happen August 11th. We need 2 to 4 county district attorneys. I found out through Ray we don't. It'd be nice to have them, but I doubt we'll have them. And it's worthy of note that as of today, Saturday, July 19th, that all 9 judges in the Doñana District, 3rd Judicial District, received all the evidence on the governor and all of the others. Ray has christened them, and I agree, the mob of Santa Fe. And the judge in my case, all the evidence against them. And I challenged them to rule and to charge all of this judge and all of these individuals. If they choose not to, as of yesterday, if they didn't put something in the mail yesterday, they have now violated their oaths of office. And we as the people of New Mexico can seek to have them all removed from their benches.